Dr. Park wiped sweat from her forehead as she stared at the glowing computer screen. The small lab tucked away beneath the Rocky Mountains had been her home for the past 3 years. Outside, snow fell gently on the peaks. But inside, something extraordinary was happening. It can't be right, she whispered to herself, but the numbers didn't lie. The equations on her screen shouldn't work according to everything she'd learned in 20 years as a physicist, yet the simulation was running perfectly. Her assistant, Dr. Kang, rushed into the room with wide eyes. The model completed another. Run, same results, this is it, isn't it? Dr. Park nodded slowly, hardly daring to believe it. Call the team, everyone needs to see this. Within an hour, 12 bleary-eyed scientists huddled around the main display as Dr. Park explained what they were seeing. For centuries, humans have dreamed of traveling faster than light. Einstein told us it was impossible. Every space agency in the world has tried and failed. She paused, allowing the weight of her next words to sink in. But we just found a way. The room erupted with questions. Dr. Bayek, their theoretical physicist, raised his hand. How? The energy requirements alone would— That's the beauty of it, Dr. Park interrupted, unable to contain her excitement. We're not pushing through space-time like conventional engines. We're taking a shortcut by temporarily bending the dimensional boundaries themselves. She pulled up a simple animation showing how the drive worked. Unlike the stable wormhole theories most had studied, this was completely different. We're calling it the Park Drive, said Dr. Kang with a smile toward his colleague. It works by creating a controlled fracture in the fabric of space-time, Dr. Park continued. Think of it like folding a piece of paper to bring two distant points together, but instead of folding, we're briefly cracking it open. One of the younger scientists, Dr. Yoon, looked concerned. That sounds incredibly dangerous. Any technology this powerful comes with risks, Dr. Park acknowledged, but our simulations show the fractures heal completely once the drive shuts down. The math is sound. 3 months later, after countless tests and refinements, they were ready for the first real trial. A small, unmanned probe sat on the launch pad at their mountain facility. Its only cargo, the Park Drive prototype and enough sensors to record everything that happened. The team gathered in the control room, all eyes fixed on the screens displaying the probe's telemetry. Dr. Park's hands trembled slightly as she prepared. To initiate the launch sequence, target Alpha Centauri, she announced. Distance 4.37 light-years. Estimated travel time with the Park Drive 3.2 seconds. Dr. Kang squeezed her shoulder supportively. They had worked toward this moment for so long. Initiate launch sequence, Dr. Park commanded, her voice steady despite her nerves. The probe lifted smoothly from the pad and accelerated into the clear blue sky. When it reached low Earth orbit, Dr. Park took a deep breath, activating Park Drive in 3, 2, 1. On the screens, the tiny probe seemed to shimmer for just a moment before vanishing completely. The room fell silent. Everyone held their breath watching the sensor readings. Signal lost, reported Dr. Yoon, as expected during transit. The seconds felt like hours. Dr. Park counted silently in her head. Then suddenly the readings flared back to life. Signal acquired, shouted Dr. Yoon. Position confirmed. It's in the Alpha Centauri system. The control room burst into cheers and tears. Dr. Park stared at the screen in amazement. They had just sent a machine to another star system and back in under 7 seconds. Initiating return sequence, she said, when the celebration quieted enough for her to be heard. Within moments, the probe reappeared in Earth orbit, its systems functioning perfectly. That night, as news of humanity's achievement spread across the globe, celebrations erupted in every city. For the first time, the stars were truly within reach. Governments issued statements of congratulations, and Dr. Park found herself overwhelmed with interview requests. But as champagne corks popped on Earth, something very different was happening far across the galaxy. On 17 worlds, ancient alarm systems suddenly activated. In the Great Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from species humans had never heard of gathered in emergency session. Holographic displays showed recordings of the dimensional ripple created by the Park Drive. Impossible, breathed one counselor, their multiple eyes widening in alarm. The catastrophe drive has been rediscovered. The eldest member of the council, a being who had witnessed the destruction of 3 solar systems in her youth, stepped forward gravely. "These humans have no idea what they've done," she said. "They've built the one thing we've worked for millennia to prevent. We must act immediately." As orders went out to prepare a diplomatic vessel for first contact with Earth, Dr. Park slept peacefully in her bed, dreaming of the wonderful future she had just unlocked for humanity. She had no way of knowing that her breakthrough had just put her entire species on a collision course with the most powerful organization in the galaxy. The morning dawned clear and bright at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Dr. Park had just finished her 3rd cup of coffee when the first reports came in. Something massive had appeared in Earth's orbit seemingly out of nowhere. "Ma'am, you need to see this," her assistant said, turning up the volume on the television where breaking news banners flashed across every channel. The world's space agencies confirmed it simultaneously. 7 vessels of unknown origin now orbited Earth. Each ship differed dramatically in design, suggesting they came from entirely different civilizations. The largest was shaped like a perfect sphere, gleaming silver against the blackness of space. Another resembled a crystalline snowflake, semi-transparent and beautiful. The smallest looked like a cluster of interconnected bubbles that pulsed. With soft light, first contact. After centuries of wondering if we were alone, humanity finally had its answer. Dr. Park was rushed by military helicopter to the Pentagon. By the time she arrived, the aliens had already made their intentions clear. They wished to meet with Earth's leaders, not with celebration or friendship, but to discuss what they called a matter of galactic security. The meeting site was hastily arranged at a neutral location, the International Space Station, which had been quickly evacuated of all but essential personnel. Dr. Park found herself alongside Admiral Lee, the highest-ranking military official, with space experience and a hastily assembled team of diplomats, scientists, and security experts. "Are you nervous?" Admiral Lee asked as their shuttle approached the station. Dr. Park nodded. "Wouldn't you be? Everything we've dreamed about, 4 generations, is happening today." "I've got a bad feeling," the Admiral replied, checking his tablet. "They specifically requested your presence, asked for you by name." Dr. Park felt a chill. How could they possibly know who I am? That's what worries me. The docking procedure went smoothly. As they floated through the station's modules toward the conference room, Dr. Park tried to calm her racing heart. First contact should have been a moment of joy, but something felt wrong. In the conference room, 7 beings waited. Each was so different from the others that Dr. Park struggled to process what she was seeing. One appeared almost human, but with skin that shifted colors like an octopus. Another was clearly robotic, with gleaming metal surfaces and glowing blue eyes. The third resembled a floating cloud of gas contained within a transparent suit. The fourth stood taller than any human, with 4 arms and skin like polished obsidian. But it was the 5th delegate that drew everyone's attention, an ancient-looking being with translucent skin through which complex organs could be seen pulsing. When it spoke, its voice seemed to bypass their ears and appear directly in their minds. "We are the Galactic Council," it said simply, "and you have created something that threatens us all." The tension in the room became unbearable as the alien delegates explained themselves. They had detected the dimensional ripple from the Park drive test. They had come immediately. "You don't understand what you've done," said the gaseous being. Its voice translated through a small device floating beside it. "The technology you call the Park drive was abandoned by the elder races billions of years ago. We call it the catastrophe drive." Images appeared on the station's screens showing 3 star systems, before and after. In the after images, there was nothing but expanding clouds of debris. 17 billion lives were lost when the drive was last used, the robotic delegate stated. The dimensional fractures grew unstable, cascaded and tore apart 3 solar systems before we could contain the damage. Admiral Lee remained stoic, but Dr. Park felt herself growing pale. "That's impossible," she argued. "Our equations show the fractures heal completely after use." "They do initially," replied the octopus-like being, "but repeated use weakens the fabric of space-time until catastrophic failure occurs. It cannot be predicted or prevented. The Council's demands were simple and non-negotiable. Earth must immediately cease all research into the park drive. All prototypes must be surrendered. All data must be destroyed. And if we refuse? Admiral Lee asked, his voice calm despite the tension. The ancient being with translucent skin looked at him with enormous eyes. Then we will have no choice but to neutralize the threat. 1 planet, or 17 billion lives. The Council has made this calculation before. The Earth delegation was given 24 hours to bring the Council's demands to their governments. The shuttle ride back to Earth was silent, each person lost in their own thoughts. An emergency meeting of the UN Security Council was convened. Leaders from every nation connected via secure video links. Dr. Park presented everything she had learned about the Council's warnings. Could they be lying? Asked one world leader. Perhaps they fear our advancement. It's possible, Dr. Park admitted. But the physics they described, it matches our theoretical models for extreme cases. I can't rule out what they're saying. Admiral Lee stood. Whether they're telling the truth or not, we need to consider the bigger picture. For the first time in human history, we have a technology that puts us on equal footing with advanced civilizations. If we surrender it now, we may never get another chance. The debate raged through the night. Scientists argued caution. Military leaders pushed for defiance. Diplomats suggested compromise. As dawn broke, a unanimous decision emerged. Humanity would not surrender the park drive. They would instead propose a joint research initiative with the Council to address the safety concerns, but they would not give up their first real chance to reach the stars. Admiral Lee delivered the news personally. So to the Council delegates. Dr. Park watched his face on the video feed. Calm, respectful, but absolutely unyielding. Humanity understands your concerns, he told them. We respect your experience and wisdom, but we cannot and will not surrender this technology. We are willing to work with you to ensure its safe use, but the decision is final. The Council delegates exchanged glances that seemed to carry entire conversations. Finally, the ancient being spoke. We had hoped reason would prevail, it said. You leave us no choice but to take more direct action. The alien ships departed Earth's orbit that evening, but they left behind small satellites in strategic positions around the planet. The message was clear: they would be watching and waiting. That night, as Dr. Park looked up at the stars from her laboratory window, she wondered if humanity had just made its greatest discovery or its fatal mistake. Either way, there was no turning back now. 6 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Despite the Council's threats, humanity refused to abandon the technology that promised the stars. Instead, Dr. Park assembled the brightest minds on Earth to address the safety concerns raised by the aliens. We've been working around the clock, Dr. Park explained to the joint military scientific committee that had been formed after first contact. She pointed to the holographic model hovering above the conference table. The Council was right about one thing. Repeated use of the drive does create microfractures in space-time that don't fully heal. Admiral Lee frowned. Can they be fixed? Young physicist named Dr. Han stepped forward. She had been recruited from a quantum mechanics lab in Seoul and had proven to be something of a genius. We think so, she said. We've developed a modification that creates what we're calling dimensional sutures, tiny energy fields that repair the fractures completely after each jump. And you're certain it works? Asked the UN Secretary-General, who had been personally overseeing the project. Dr. Park and Dr. Han exchanged glances. As certain as we can be without a full-scale test, Dr. Park admitted. The Secretary-General sighed. Which the Council has forbidden. About that, Admiral Lee cleared his throat. We've been monitoring the alien satellites they left in orbit. They're reporting back to the Council in real time. If we conduct another test, they'll know immediately. Then we need to be ready for their response, Dr. Park said firmly. The decision was made. Despite the risks, humanity would proceed with testing the improved Park Drive. But this time they wouldn't just conduct a simple flight to Alpha Centauri. They had something much bolder in mind. Captain Kim had been selected to lead the mission. A veteran test pilot with nerves of steel, she had volunteered immediately despite knowing the dangers. "The ship is ready," she reported, as final preparations were made. The sleek vessel, nicknamed Defiance, was barely larger than a bus but packed with the most advanced technology Earth had ever produced. Dr. Park personally inspected the modified Park drive. "Remember," she told Captain Kim, "the moment you arrive, you'll need to activate the suture mechanism. We only get one chance to prove this works." Captain Kim nodded solemnly. "No pressure, right? Just the fate of our species riding on this." "The Council thinks we're reckless children," Admiral Lee said. "It's time to show them otherwise." Across the galaxy, in the vast crystalline chamber where the Galactic Council conducted its most sensitive business, an emergency session had been called. The monitoring satellites around Earth had detected energy signatures consistent with preparations for another Park drive test. "Unbelievable," growled the delegate from the Makari Confederation, their tentacles waving in agitation. "After our explicit warning, they dare to continue?" "Humans are young and stubborn," said the ancient being with translucent skin. "They do not yet understand the concept of extinction." "Our enforcement vessels can reach their system in 3 days, offered the robotic delegate. "Shall I give the order?" Before any could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Security fields activated automatically as sensors detected an unauthorized spatial disruption forming directly within the Council's most secure location. Something that should have been impossible given the powerful shields protecting the facility. A small silver ship materialized in the center of the chamber, hovering silently above the stunned council members. For a moment, no one moved. Then a hatch opened in the side of the vessel, and 3 humans emerged. Captain Kim stepped forward, her expression calm despite standing before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Beside her, 2 engineers carried complex equipment. "Distinguished members of the Galactic Council," she announced, her voice clear and unwavering. "I am Captain Kim of Earth. I bring you greetings and a demonstration." The Council erupted in chaos. Security forces rushed in, weapons drawn. The ancient delegate raised a gnarled hand, and everyone fell silent. "You have violated the most sacred and secure chamber in the galaxy," it said, voice resonating directly in their minds. "How did you bypass our defenses?" Captain Kim smiled slightly. "That's part of what we came to show you. The Park Drive, or Catastrophe Drive as you call it, has been modified. We've addressed the safety concerns you raised." One of the engineers activated a holographic display showing detailed technical schematics of the improved drive system. "The fractures now heal completely," he explained. "We've developed what we call dimensional sutures, energy fields that repair any damage to space-time caused by the drive." The robotic council member moved closer, examining the hologram with glowing eyes. "This is unexpected. Your species has accomplished in weeks what took others centuries." "Humans adapt quickly," Captain Kim replied. "But more importantly, we came here today to demonstrate something else." She gestured to their ship. "We could have appeared anywhere in Council space. We could have bypassed your defenses to strike at any target. Instead, we chose to come here openly to talk." The meaning wasn't lost on the Council. The humans had just proven they possessed technology that rendered the Council's security measures obsolete, yet they had used it not for attack, but for diplomacy. The ancient delegate's skin shifted colors rapidly, a sign of intense emotion. "You took an incredible risk coming here. We could destroy your vessel and end your demonstration permanently." "You could try," said Captain Kim calmly. "But before you do, you should know that our ship is transmitting everything back to Earth in real time. If we don't return safely, thousands of ships equipped with our drive will appear throughout Council space within hours." It was a bluff. Earth had exactly one working prototype, the very ship they stood beside. But the Council couldn't know that. The gaseous delegate floated forward. "You claim to have solved the instability problem. Prove it." Captain Kim nodded. To the engineers, who set up monitoring equipment around the ship. "The Park Drive creates dimensional ripples when activated. Your own sensors can confirm this, but watch what happens when we engage our suture technology." The ship's engines hummed to life. Council security officers tensed, but the ancient delegate gestured for them to hold position. On the monitoring, equipment energy readings spiked sharply as the drive activated partially. Not enough for a jump, but enough to create the telltale fractures in space-time. Then, as the suture mechanism engaged, the readings smoothed out completely. Where there should have been lingering damage to the dimensional fabric, there was nothing. The council members exchanged looks of astonishment. The robotic delegate spoke first. "This is unprecedented. If your technology works as demonstrated, it changes everything we thought we knew about dimensional travel." Captain Kim stood tall. "Earth is prepared to share this technology with the Council under certain conditions. We wish to join the galactic community not as subjects, but as equals." The ancient delegate stared at the humans for a long moment. "You appear in our most secure chamber, demonstrate technology that bypasses our defenses, and then demand equal standing. Your species has audacity." "We prefer to call it hope," Captain Kim replied. "Hope that advanced civilizations can recognize potential allies rather than threats." As the council members huddled together in hurried discussion, Captain Kim and her crew waited calmly. They had taken an enormous gamble, but in that moment, watching the most powerful beings in the galaxy reassess their understanding of humanity, they knew it had been worth the risk. Whatever happened next would forever change Earth's place among the stars. The council chambers had never seen such heated debate. Captain Kim and her crew had returned to Earth, leaving behind a storm of controversy among the galaxy's ruling species. For 3 days, the arguments raged without pause. "The humans must be stopped immediately," insisted the delegate from the Helix Collective, pounding a clawed appendage on the table. "They've proven themselves reckless by appearing in this very chamber. Imagine what they might do next." Others disagreed strongly. The representative of the Luminous Archive, a species that had catalogued knowledge for billions of years, raised her glowing tentacles for attention. "We would be fools to dismiss human ingenuity," she countered. "In mere weeks, they solved problems our best minds struggled with for centuries. There is much we could learn from them." The chamber, usually a model of decorum, had devolved into shouting and threats. Some delegates stormed out in protest. Others formed whispered alliances in corners. The unity that had kept peace across thousands of worlds for millennia was fracturing over what to do about one small blue planet. Finally, the ancient being known as the Vorax rose from its seat at the center of the chamber. The oldest member of the council, rumored to have lived for over 10,000 years, rarely spoke. When it did, everyone listened. "Enough," it said, its voice like gravel sliding down a mountainside. "We have faced new species before. We have faced new technologies before. We will not be undone by panic." The chamber fell silent as the Vorax's eyes, all 7 of them, slowly surveyed the room. "I propose a compromise," it continued. "The humans will demonstrate their improved drive technology under controlled conditions on a designated, uninhabited world. Our scientists will verify their claims about these dimensional sutures. If they speak truth, we will reconsider their status. If they lie, we will have all the justification needed for more and decisive action." The proposal passed by a narrow margin. A delegation was dispatched to Earth with the terms, "Meanwhile, Dr. Park had not been idle." Following Captain Kim's successful mission to the council chamber, she had been granted access to the data collected during the encounter. Something about the council's reaction had bothered her. They seemed too surprised by Earth's technological leap. She assembled a small team to analyze everything they knew about the council. The alien monitoring satellites in Earth orbit provided an unexpected opportunity. They could be studied for clues about the council's technology. "Look at this," Dr. Park said one evening, pointing to her screen where she had compiled a timeline. "Curve technological advancement across known council species. Does anything strike you as odd?" Dr. Han leaned in, frowning. "The development curves are almost identical for each species. That can't be natural." "Exactly," Dr. Park said. "And notice the timing. Each species was granted faster-than-light technology exactly 500 years after they developed nuclear fission. Never sooner, never later." Admiral Lee, who had been listening quietly, approached the display. "You're suggesting they're controlling technological development deliberately." "I'm not suggesting it," Dr. Park replied. "I'm proving it." She pulled up another display showing communication signals intercepted from the alien satellites. Her team had finally managed to decrypt a small portion. This is a report being sent back to the Council about Earth's current technological status. Look at the classification code. The others leaned in. The code read, Species 12492, Controlled Development Status, Violation. There are protocols here for technological suppression and memory adjustments for species that advance too quickly, Dr. Park said quietly. The Council hasn't been protecting the galaxy from dangerous technologies. They've been keeping them for themselves. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They've been playing God, Admiral Lee said finally, deciding which species gets what technology and when. And we just broke all their rules, Dr. Hahn added. The Council delegation arrived the next day with their proposal for a controlled demonstration. Earth's leaders met them with outward politeness, while secretly preparing for the worst. Dr. Park's discovery had changed everything. They could no longer trust the Council's motives. The demonstration was scheduled for a barren moon in a nearby star system. Earth would send a small team to prove their drive modifications worked safely. Council scientists would monitor everything. The night before the demonstration, Dr. Park approached Admiral Lee in the secure planning room. We need to confront them, she said without preamble. Show them what we've discovered. The Admiral looked up from his tactical displays. That's a dangerous game, Doctor. If we reveal our hand too early, they're already planning something, she interrupted. I've analyzed the requirements for their test. The location they've chosen has unusual radiation patterns that would interfere with our suture technology unless we make specific adjustments. They're setting us up to fail. Admiral Lee's expression hardened. You're certain? Absolutely, they never intended to give us a fair chance. The next morning, as Earth's demonstration team prepared to depart, a coded message arrived from their intelligence services. They had intercepted communications between Council ships. A fleet was already assembling at the edge of the solar system, far larger than needed for a simple scientific demonstration. Dr. Park, Captain Kim, and Admiral Lee met urgently with Earth's leadership. The decision was unanimous. They would spring the trap, but on their terms. When they arrived at the designated moon, the Council's scientific team was waiting. So were 4 heavily armed warships, hanging ominously in orbit. Captain Kim landed their vessel and greeted the alien scientists cordially. As the inspection of the Park drive began, Dr. Park stepped forward with a data tablet. Before we proceed, she said, I'd like to discuss some interesting findings. She displayed the evidence they had gathered about the Council's systematic suppression of technological advancement throughout the galaxy. The alien scientists shifted uncomfortably. This demonstration isn't about safety at all, is it? Dr. Park asked. It's about maintaining your control. The lead Council scientist, a blue-skinned being with compound eyes, stared at her for a long moment. You understand nothing, it said finally. The control systems exist for a reason. Young species cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Look at your own history. You nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times before reaching the stars. That's not your decision to make, Captain Kim replied firmly. The scientist's communicator chimed. After listening briefly, it turned back to the humans with a different expression, something that might have been pity. This discussion is now irrelevant. The High Council has reached its decision. On the main view screen, the ancient Vorax appeared, flanked by the most militant Council members. Humans of Earth, it rasped. Your interference in galactic affairs can no longer be tolerated. You will surrender all Park Drive technology and research immediately. Your world will be placed under direct Council supervision for the next 1,000 years. Refuse and we will have no choice but to eliminate the threat you pose. Admiral Lee stepped forward. And if we agree, what happens to Earth then? You will be permitted to develop along approved paths, the Vorax replied. In time, you may earn limited privileges within the galactic community. Dr. Park couldn't contain herself. You mean we'll get the scraps of technology you decide we're ready for, while you keep the real advancements for yourselves? The Vorax's 7 eyes blinked in sequence. It is the way of things. The Council has maintained peace for 50,000 years through careful management of technological spread. Your species will comply or it will end. You have 24 hours to decide. As the transmission ended, Captain Kim turned to her companions. "Now what?" Admiral Lee's expression was grim. "Now we implement Contingency Phoenix." "Is it ready?" Dr. Park asked. The Admiral nodded slowly. "It has to be. The future of our species depends on what happens in the next 24 hours. As they boarded their ship to return to Earth, Dr. Park looked back at the Council scientists watching them. Leave. She wondered how many other species had faced this same ultimatum throughout the millennia, and how many had simply surrendered their future to the Council's control. Earth would not be one of them. The massive Council warships hung in Earth's orbit like storm clouds promising devastation. 16 days had passed since the ultimatum, and neither side had backed down. Communications had broken down after Earth's flat refusal to surrender the Park Drive technology. Dr. Park hadn't slept properly in days. Dark circles shadowed her eyes as she made her way through the underground war room where Earth's leaders had gathered. The room hummed with tense activity as military personnel monitored the alien fleet's every movement. "They're moving again," Admiral Lee announced as Dr. Park entered. 3 more warships just arrived. That brings their total to 27. The Secretary-General of the United Nations looked grim. "Do we know their capabilities?" "Enough to end all life on Earth several times over," Dr. Han said quietly from her station. She had been analyzing the Council ship's energy signatures around the clock. Captain Kim, who had been promoted to Fleet Commander after her bold mission to the Council chambers, studied the tactical display. "They're arranging themselves for full orbital bombardment, classic encirclement pattern." The room fell silent. This was it then. "Are we ready?" Dr. Park asked. Admiral Lee nodded. "Operation Phoenix is green across the board. Just waiting for your final confirmation on the drive modifications." All eyes turned to Dr. Park. In the weeks since discovering the Council's true nature, she and her team had worked feverishly on a secret project, a specialized application of the Park Drive that no one had anticipated, not even the Council. "The modifications are complete," she confirmed. "But I want to be clear about what this means. We're about to change the balance of power across the entire galaxy. There's no going back." The Secretary-General stood. "The Council has controlled technological development for 50,000 years, keeping countless species in artificial stagnation. They've threatened our extinction rather than allow us to advance naturally. I believe we've exhausted all diplomatic options." "Then let's proceed," Admiral Lee said. The signal went out to every modified Park Drive unit that had been secretly distributed throughout Earth's defense network over the past 2 weeks. Each activated simultaneously, creating a web of dimensional energy that enveloped the planet like a shimmering cocoon. On the Council warships, alarms blared as weapons systems suddenly went offline. Engines failed. Communications died. The dimensional web created by the modified Park Drives wasn't attacking the ships directly. It was simply altering the fabric of space-time around their weapon systems in ways that rendered them inoperable. Earth had effectively created a planetary shield that no Council weapon could penetrate. "It's working," Dr. Han reported, her voice filled with wonder as she monitored the readings. "Every Council weapon system has been neutralized." Admiral Lee allowed himself a small smile. "Send the message." The transmission was broadcast on all frequencies directly to the flagship of the Council fleet. Captain Kim had recorded it personally. "Attention. Council forces, as you have discovered, your weapons are now inoperative in Earth space. This is not an attack. We have simply demonstrated a previously undisclosed capability of what you call the catastrophe drive. The dimensional manipulation that allows for faster-than-light travel can also be tuned to detect and temporarily neutralize weapon systems across vast distances." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "Earth does not wish for conflict. We wish for cooperation. But we will not surrender our technological sovereignty. Your military advantage has been neutralized. We invite your leadership to genuine diplomatic talks." For 3 tense hours there was no response. Then finally a transmission from the Council flagship. The ancient Vorax appeared on screen, its 7 eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. This is impossible. The drive cannot be modified in this way." And yet, Here. We are, the Secretary-General replied calmly. We've rendered your fleet's weapons useless without firing a single shot. We could have done much worse. The Vorax's skin changed colors in rapid pulses. What are your demands? Planetary sovereignty? Recognition, resources? None of those things, Dr. Park said, stepping into view. What we want is much simpler, yet much more revolutionary. Truth and fairness. She outlined humanity's proposal. The Council would end its practice of technological suppression. Knowledge would be shared openly with all species ready to receive it. Safety protocols would remain, but artificial barriers to advancement would fall. The galaxy doesn't need controllers, she concluded. It needs collaborators. The Vorax seemed genuinely confused. You hold the power to destabilize the entire Council system, and you ask only for reformation. We believe in the potential of all intelligent life, the Secretary-General explained, including yours. The Council has done good work maintaining peace, but at too high a cost. It's time for a new approach. What followed were the most intensive diplomatic negotiations in human history. For 12 days, Earth's representatives worked with the increasingly divided Council. Some members remained hostile, but others, particularly younger species who had themselves chafed under Council restrictions, became powerful allies. The turning point came unexpectedly. 3 species that had been particularly restricted by Council policy rose in open support of Earth's proposal. They revealed that they had been secretly monitoring the situation and were impressed by humanity's restraint. They could have used their advantage to destroy the Council fleet, but instead chose dialogue. Then 6 of the younger Council members broke ranks with the old guard. The Vorax, seeing the changing tide, did what no one expected. It agreed to Earth's terms. For 50,000 years, we have guided the galaxy as we thought best, it announced in a historic broadcast transmitted to thousands of worlds. Perhaps it is time for new ideas, new approaches. The humans have shown us both great power and great wisdom, a rare combination. 3 months later, Dr. Park stood on a platform in the newly constructed Galactic Cooperative Headquarters on Luna. Before her stretched representatives from over 200 species, some Council members, others newly invited to the Galactic community now that the old restrictions had been lifted. The technology that once terrified the Council has become the foundation for a more equitable galaxy, she told the assembled delegates. The Park Drive now connects worlds that were once isolated, allows exchange of knowledge that was once hoarded, and protects the peace without weapons. She gestured to the Earth hanging in the black sky above the lunar surface, beautiful and blue. Humanity is young compared to many of you. We have much to learn, but perhaps we also have something to teach. That innovation without compassion is hollow. That power without restraint is dangerous, and that the greatest strength comes not from control but from cooperation. As she finished speaking, the chamber erupted in the various sounds of approval from dozens of species. Admiral Lee leaned toward her with a smile. "Not bad for someone who just wanted to study physics equations," he whispered. Dr. Park watched. As species that had been kept apart by Council decree now spoke freely, sharing ideas and technologies. She thought about the long journey from her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains to this moment, humanity's true emergence onto the galactic stage. "It wasn't about the equations," she replied. "It was always about the stars and our right to reach them on our own terms." Outside the chamber windows, ships from 100 worlds moved through space, many powered by variations of the Park Drive, no longer a weapon to be feared, but a bridge between civilizations in a galaxy that was finally beginning to live up to its potential.